know, we're at one of the best schools in the country, the Ohio State University. So, the opportunity to work with Coach Day, the staff, the tradition, and just the type of players that we have here and what we're capable of doing and competing and winning a national championship year in and year out. I mean, for me and my family, we're just blessed and fortunate and excited about the opportunity. And, you get a job and you hit the ground running, and so, for me, I'm just excited about the opportunity and to do some special things here.
Coming from Cincinnati with Luke, what type of communication or conversation was there with him about Ohio State? Obviously, this is his home, and what was his reaction to you having this conversation, this possibility?
Coach was professional. He was awesome about it. He understood. We had a great 2-year run. I mean, we were 22-2. Obviously, we'd have liked the one those last 2 games the past 2 years, but at the same point in time, he was great. He and his family, his wife, they were great, and I'm forever grateful to him. He was good to me, and he understood.
Obviously, what you were able to develop last year gives you a lot of cachet on the recruiting trail, but also recruits seem to know that at this point, kind of know what your resume is, but now it's about building those relationships. How you think that went the first 2 weeks that you had an opportunity to do that?
Great. It's amazing. Young men these days, I mean, it's a click of a button. And credit to those young men I coached at Cincinnati for opening their heart and minds to me and to let me pour into them. So, it gives you a little juice. Guys want to be the best. Guys want to be All-Americans. Guys want to have the opportunity to win the Jim Thorpe Award. Guys want to win championships. Guys want to have the opportunity to be projected first round draft pick. So for me, being able to go into schools with the block O on your chest and knowing that, hey, I've got an opportunity to win a national championship year in and year out and be the best of the best is definitely an added advantage.
So kind of, to that point, this is probably the most high profile school that you've been at. And so you just mentioned the fact that you do now have that cachet along with what the resume you built. If you put that together, I guess, what are the expectations on the recruiting trail for yourself and what you
extremely exciting. I mean, one, humbling, but extremely exciting, to have the resources, the Ohio State, behind you to go into any home, any school, and say, hey, you want to play at the best school in the country and play for national championships year in and year out and be able to get a quality education and live your dreams and goals. I mean, that's hard to turn down. Plus, get developed. I think that's the main, the key component is not only going to a great school like this and having the opportunities on the field, but have an opportunity to get developed to be the very best and maximize your God-given ability.
And just from a personnel standpoint, you guys want 3 safeties out there. As you guys are evaluating talent and the recruiting trail, you're evaluating this roster. Could you just kind of break down what you want from each of those safety spots? Just what are there different body types, different skill sets you want from the guy who's maybe the back safety, the free safety, or even being cover safety or whatever you guys end up calling?
Yeah, you want a nice little flavor. You don't want the same guy. You want a guy that can play the post, and play the middle, but you also want a guy that can cover. You also want a guy that can, play in the box. So all 3 of those guys have a unique skill set, but at the same point in time, it's going to give us the multiplicity to do some different things with all of them to where we're not one-dimensional, so we keep an offense off balance.
Coach Day just talked to us about how you and Coach Walton will work together and coach that secondary. What is that relationship like here early on, and how do you see that developing over time?
We all have our specialties as far as, I'm coaching the safeties, he's coaching the corners, but at the same point in time, we're a secondary. And I think that's extremely important, just my time as a coach, that those 2 entities work together. It's just like when I was at Cincinnati, I coached the corners and we had a safeties coach. We still are one. And the cool thing about me and Tim is, a couple years ago, we did a professional development, seminar in Miami. And so this is not my first time working with him, and we hit it off and had great chemistry. So fast forward to now, we're working together side by side, and so it's not a corners, it's safeties. Yeah, we have our position, but at the end of the day, we are a secondary, and we are defensive backs, and I'm just excited to pull from him and, vice versa.
And Coach Day mentioned a fresh start for the defense, also that some guys will have a clean slate. I assume you look back at film from last year, maybe before, but how much do you do that versus kind of giving guys a chance to show you what they can do once you get out on the practice field?
Well, you're always intrigued to kind of see how guys move within a game. You try to formulate some type of, picture, before you actually get a chance to work with them hand in hand and on the field and in drills and in the offseason. So for me, it's just more so, let me see what they look like, let me see how they're moving against different opponents. Let me see, when they have an opportunity to make a play, how does that look? Just to give a pin. But they do have a clean slate from a standpoint. There is no, this guy's doing this guy's doing that. And that's the exciting thing.
Harry, as far as having two secondary coaches, they haven't always had that here. Sometimes it's just been one secondary coach. You've been in a situation before where there's a corners coach and a safeties coach. Is there an advantage to having that sort of setup where you have two guys working in the secondary?
I think definitely. There's some different nuances at corner that has nothing to do with the safety, and vice versa. There's some different nuances at safety that have nothing to do with a corner. So I think the biggest thing is, being able to specialize in certain areas within the defense. You do need two DB coaches, to be able to do that and maximize the time that it takes to master those different skill sets.
Coaches don't like taking credit for the players' success that they coach, but with Sauce and with Kobe, obviously helped you show what you could do as a developer to get here. What does that mean to you to know that not only their hard work was proven by being All-Americans or being the Thorpe winner, but also your hard work in developing them was shown enough to get this job at Ohio State?
First and foremost, it's a player's game, and so I give those guys the ultimate credit. One of the things for me is when a young man opens his mind and opens his heart and allows me to pour into him, and that's what those two young men did. And my whole deal was, basically, what do you want to accomplish team-wise first and then individually? And those were goals they wanted to do. And so for me as their coach, just being able to get in the lab and create the very best opportunities for them and then them go out there and execute it, that's joy to me. And that's why I do this, and obviously I'm fortunate enough to where Coach Day, want to be a part of this. And I'm thrilled to be here. I'm excited for the opportunity. And, but I'm thankful for those young men because without them, really, really opening their heart and minds to me, we wouldn't have been able to accomplish what we did.
I know it's really early and it's probably too early to be able to tell, but do you see that kind of openness from these guys on this roster to learn from you and to see what you have to say? It's not easy. It seems like they've gone through new secondary coaches every year. And so for another one to come in and be able to mold them, what do you see out of those guys so far?
Right. Well, they initially do their homework to kind of see what type of coach is coming in as far as from a success standpoint. So I get that. But, the thing for me that's made my transition easier as far as different jobs and even coming in here is, I'm going to give them my everything. I'm going to pour my heart. There is no motives. There is no agendas. I'm going to love them. I'm going to tell them I love them. I'm going to be right there in the foxhole with them. And, I'm looking to take this journey with them. And we're looking to do this together, and that's the cool thing. It's about the relationships. And that's why I coach, I don't coach for the fame and all. I coach because I want to pour into young men's lives and see them live out their dreams in the greatest team sport there is.
Coach, the success that you had at Cincinnati as a team, what you guys accomplished as a team, getting to the college football playoff, working with guys that played at a really high level, how did that make you a better coach over these last 12 months?
Well, it didn't take very long when I got the job there right before COVID hit. It was the culture. Those guys, the work ethic, the belief, the togetherness. And so, the cool thing for me is I know exactly what that looks like on a day in and day out basis and what it's going to take, for us to take that next step and do what we're more than capable of doing here at Ohio State University.
So when you're evaluating, just from your own professional endeavors, when you're evaluating what a good situation might look like for you and maybe one that could be appealing but doesn't have it, whatever that is, how do you go through that process and figure out what the right steps are for you as you go on your journey?
Well, I got a boss at home called my wife. So it starts there, but there's no place like the Ohio State University, and it's the best job in the country. And I'd be lying to you to tell you that I saw this on the radar, because I didn't. And when Coach Day, reached out to Coach Fickle and wanted to reference, me coming up here, I'm blessed. And I know the expectations, and I know what's expected. I want to coach at the highest level. I want to be able to coach and win national championships. And I want to see young men be able to live out their dreams at the highest level. And so, when the opportunity afforded itself and my big boss at home was on board, I took it and ran with it.
I apologize if you've already been asked this, but when you had a chance to first meet with Coach Day, what struck you about him that made you feel like, even just beyond the tradition or the expectations with coaching here, what struck you about him as the kind of guy that you wanted to link up with?
Easy to talk to, very down to earth. Just there was great chemistry right off the bat, and it wasn't awkward. It was real. And that's all I ask, I'm gonna give him everything, but to work for a man that, you just feel at home, you feel comfortable with, great chemistry, great communication, and he knows exactly what he wants and what it's supposed to look like, it made the transition extremely easy.
In those conversations with Coach Day, I mean, what did he communicate with you about what he wants to see change on the back end for this team this year?
Just to us to maximize our ability back there, and he wanted the best, and we've got great players here, great players, and so he identified that something needed to have a change, and he made the decision, and I was fortunate enough to get a phone call and come up, and it was a fit. Relationships wise, it's got to be a fit, not only just on the field, but can those young men have a great relationship with you and you get the very best out of them. And he made the decision that I was the right fit and the right choice.
Perry, you talked about how this program kind of speaks for itself, but did you have any conversations with Coach Fick before you came here about what to expect, some warning labels or anything like that?
Not really warning label. I've been doing this for a long time, and the expectations. And for me, I've never ran away from expectations. I'm the ultimate competitor. We always talk about, is the player a competitor? Well, coaches are competitors too, and for me to have the ability to coach here and coach at the highest level and coach big games, and the expectation here is to win national championships. Well, I'm not afraid of that, and that takes a lot of hard work, commitment, discipline, and dedication. But I'm willing to get in the foxhole with those young men. And as in reference to Coach Fick, he was great. I can't reiterate that enough. He was great about the whole situation. He understood, and he wished me the best, and obviously didn't want me to leave. But at the same point in time, he understood.
In my last one, Joey was talking about how now there are 2 secondary coaches at many different schools. What does that say about where the college game is headed? That is seen as 2 separate positions that you really have to hone in on to have a good secondary.
Well, I just think that to specialize in the drills, to specialize in the techniques, the fundamentals, the certain coverages that we'll run, I think if you're asking one guy to do it by himself, we're going to miss the mark on some things. And so I think for Coach Knowles and Coach Day to truly identify and recognize that, we need 2 guys back there. But I think the key to that is to have the chemistry, the communication, and we're all in this thing together. I think that's extremely critical into having a really, really good secondary.
Perry, as far as splitting those 2 roles up, just to follow up, will you guys meet safeties all together, corners all together, or do you meet it's like a whole DB unit? How does that typically work?
Without speaking out of turn, you do have to meet separate at times, but at the same point in time, you do have to meet together. I think once again, it comes down to the relationship, the communication with myself and Coach Walton. And we're going to be like this. I mean, we're going to be on the same wavelength. So what he's saying, I'm saying. What I'm saying, he's saying. And so I think that's the most important thing. You don't always have to meet with each other as far as a group, but I think both coaches have to be on the same wavelength, have to be reading from the same sheet of music. But I think there is a definite advantage to meeting at times together and then also meeting separate. And that's something we'll address in the next few days.
Perry, how hard is it to not have preconceived notions about players that you've watched on TV, or you have to come in here and everyone kind of starts over, right? You're starting over, the players are starting over. How hard is it to not have a thought about someone? Hey, I watched this kid on TV, I saw this, I wasn't that impressed, or I liked the way this kid did that. I mean, is it something that you have to consciously try to absolve from your mind when you get in here?
No, I mean you just got to come in with an open mind and really mean that. Sometimes there's a reason why you saw what you saw on tape, and until you're around a young man day in and day out to understand the habits, the work ethic, what was he asked to do, what was he not asked to do, how was he in the film room. So there's so many variables that I think if you do come into this situation with a preconceived notion, you're going to miss the mark. And so when I say it's wide open, they have a clean sheet, clean slate, I really mean that. For me, as a secondary guy, I just sometimes just like to lay eyes and, just kind of see what it looked like, but not going in saying, well, I've already pegged this young man, I've pegged this young man. We've got outstanding players here, and I've had an opportunity to sit down and meet with each one of them individually, and I'm excited. They're excited, and I know I got to earn their trust, and that's fine. I'm willing to do that, but I'm excited about the group that I'll be coaching.
Did you have a relationship with any of the players just in the recruiting trail at all? Any of these guys before you got here?
Jalen, Johns, he's from Cincinnati, so he had came on campus a few times when I was at Cincinnati. The cool thing is me and Jackson's dad played together in college, and so it's a small world. I knew Jair Brown, coming out of Lakota West. So that quote, that old adage, it's a small world. I think that's very true. So yeah, I had an idea about certain guys, and they had knew about me, but for the most part, I'm learning these guys just like they're learning me.
And for the most part, a lot of the bulk is coming back because they were playing so many young guys, so to the point of like not having received both notions. From what you had an opportunity to see on film, what did you like about, and what you maybe didn't like, what you saw from some of these guys who were all like Ronnie Hickman, Josh Proctor, and the short stint we gave you?
I think once again, we got great players here. They're really, really good. They're locked in. They're hungry. And so for me, it's more so, okay, all these pieces I'm working with, how are we going to make it all work to where we go in the right direction and have great success as a defense, as a program, and as a football team. So for me, it's more so, I'm looking forward to getting in the foxhole with them, getting in the meeting room with them, getting on the board with them, coming to off season, getting them on the field with them. That's, to me, is going to really be the telltale, because they're going to learn more about me. I'm going to learn more about them. But to sit down with young men and say, I'm hungry, I want this, coach, I want that, and I want to be great, that just gives me that much more motivation to make sure I'm doing what I'm supposed to do.
Harry, what's the experience or emotion or any of that the first day you go in for that first meeting room with that coach, going through the roster today and all that? I know you've been recruiting for the last couple of weeks, but I understand it's kind of the first time together for that whole group. What is it like as a new part of that?
Great flow. First and foremost, great flow. We've been in constant communication with each other. I think the thing, when you have a one-on-one with a young man, you're able to look him eyeball to eyeball. Before I went on the road, I was able to do that and just let him know, hey, I'm your new coach. You need anything, call me, text me. I was reaching out to them, just to check on them from time to time on the road, making sure, hey, everything's good at home. And then to be able to come back and see them in the weight room this morning and kind of circle back around and see them and say, hey, man, how you feeling? How's the 2 weeks been going? What are the things we need to start addressing right away? For me, it's about the players and the relationship piece. And, I wanted them to feel and see my passion and see the fire in my eye that, we will get things needed that we need to get done. But I need you to give me your heart and your mind every day. Not for me, but for your teammates, for your brothers. And so it's exciting to get around them. Obviously, I know you got to recruit, you got to get on the road, and we're on some really, really talented young men. But at the same point in time, there's no young men like the guys that's on campus right now putting in the work to make a run at a championship.